always forget to adjust the light. Well, it's kind of hard to see. Get that moved over a bit. It'd be nice if they had an option to look at everything. That's not too bad.
Wow, who's that good-looking dude with a nice haircut?
I don't know.
Exceedingly handsome if he'd stop parting his hair like Henry Kissinger or Walter Cronkite and go for a more Kennedy-esque or Tucker Carlson
Hello, Essa.
part.
You commented on a video this week, correct? Hi, Dave. It was yeah. Hello, DRS. I presume it's still rather warm down there. It's not up here. It's not bad right now. 65. It was a little cold over the weekend, especially Saturday morning. Yeah, he's going to be sleeping with Eva tonight. Anyhow, so by the way, I have no idea. There's that little heart emoji there. I think when I hit enter, I also hit the shift key on that side, and it magically appeared, and I can't seem to get rid of it. So I guess we're just going to have to live with it tonight unless somebody knows how to get rid of it without screwing up the stream. I have no idea what's going on there. I did not do it deliberately.
What heart emoji?
That heart emoji right frickin' there. Don't ask me.
Don't look at me. I am nowhere near that mess.
Oh.
It's entirely your fault.
So
I'm confident of this.
Essa, am I correct that you were the one who commented on the extracting the gold from the resin this weekend? Okay, David. Hopefully it doesn't come back next week. It's been on my screen for a month now. Wonder frickin' full. Let's see, what are these options? Moderation, timestamps, pop out chat. No, that shouldn't do it. Because if I put the cursor over it, I get a series of emojis, but I can't even change to something else like the smiley face there. If I hit the smiley face, tell me what happens when I hit the smiley face emoji. Okay, what happened? You know, because what I saw was on the top of the little bar of options, little smiley faces started drifting up about where Dave Vanderwall's 2 chats ago started. Heart floats away.
Yeah.
I wish it would go away.
It's a reaction emoji. Okay, I don't know how you turned it on, but Facebook has the same thing.
Yeah, well,
it says somebody is reacting.
Do you know how to get rid of it?
No.
Okay, then we're on a live stream right now. Okay. Hi, Naughtiest. In terms of extracting the gold from our resin using Eco Goldex, when you're back, we'll discuss what you want. Just go ahead and when you get back, bring it back up again, and we'll discuss that in a little more detail. I can tell you what we've learned. Okay, this is why I like these. Why I don't like a lot of people on the live stream. It's because you can't just pay attention. You know, when stuff is scrolling faster than you can even read it, how's anyone supposed to respond? So I like it this way. It's a nice little community. When somebody has a question, they can get it answered. Anyhow, that the thumbnail for tonight's live stream was Saturday morning sunrise, literally right out the back door of the Minor Bago.
And it should be noted, I was awake to see it.
Yeah, and she actually woke up to see it. That's right. She was awake um, fairly early this weekend for her because um, the place we were working was, hi, John. It was down a hill, and it's a steep enough grade that the two-wheel drive quad that we're driving may not make it back up if we were to go down. We could probably get down. Whether or not we could get up is a different story, and we'd still have to park, I don't know, maybe 100 yards or less from the actual adit, but at a much fairly similar elevation. Only need to drop like, I don't know, 20 feet or something. But the getting down there, it's a pretty steep grade, and after a hard day's work, climbing back up is no fun. Uh, Eva's, mentally very strong, but her body is, she's petite, and so I had to teach her the basic principle. Hey, Lars, that when you got two people of substantially different physical capabilities, when you're doing stuff like this, you don't even out the loads. You adjust it to the people so that each person is handicapped roughly the same. So one person isn't leaving the other one in the dust, or vice versa, or pushing or whatever.
It
Uh-oh.
should be noted the reason the goddess was trying to carry all her crap is because the last time the goddess trusted him to take good care of her crystals, things went awry.
Anyhow, uh, hey, honey bunny. So, anyhow, we didn't bring too much back from down there because it would have been simply impossible. Um, I don't know how long it takes us to hike back up. Somewhere around a half an hour.
It's about 45 minutes.
45 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I went to Google Earth this morning and checked, and it says that from the place we parked the quad to the adit is about 700 trail feet. It's about 500 horizontal as the crow flies, and about 150 vertical feet. So it's fairly steep.
Google is lying.
That seems about right to me, but yeah, it's slow walking, it's steep, it's bumpy. You're kind of winding our way through trees. Yeah, you take care, honey bunny. What's the matter? So say it just it's not a fun commute to work, um, but it is pretty, and we did see elk twice this weekend, which is the first time we've seen any elk up there. Might have been the same bunch. They were in a fairly similar spot. Okay, I got an idea what you're talking about, honey bunny.
Well, there were more there the second time than the first time, so they may or may not have been the same.
It's hard to tell. You might have only seen the last couple that first time. But anyhow, as you can see, it's it's got some issues there, and the rock has lost its competence. The timbering has definitely lost its competence, and so it looks like it's just going to be the hard way. And what I'm hoping, I'll do a side view. This is one of the things that we saw this weekend, and I got a diagram here so I can go more clearly. But if here's the hillside, and this is the back of the divot in the hillside, then there's, well, right now, after I've done it, there's a little shelf here, another thing, and then this level here. And here's the track level down here. Right now, this is filled with big rocks. This is the elevation that was there before where I'd taken the sample from. And this is approximately the elevation that I'm digging to. What I'm hoping is that the tunnel in here, so it came out, this area here, I assume all the timbering has collapsed. Okay, this stuff out here was just completely gone, just turned to mulch, as he would put it. And so I assume that this is just broken rubble here. But hopefully somewhere pretty close, we'll just have the backside of a muck pile here. And when I take this level down, hopefully we can get a little breakthrough back there so we can start ventilating this. That's the hope. I should be able to get close to that spot by Friday evening quitting time. And I'll probably have to spend half a day Saturday on this side getting that material out. And then once I've finished the pushback, if I'm not carefully digging down into here some, then I'll have to come back and Saturday morning bring a sledgehammer, colloquially known in the mining business as a double jack, and start busting up some big ass rocks. Oops, it's not hardly even visible. That's better. Here's the existing slope. Here's the existing level that I took the sample from here. And this is the level that I'm digging on the pushback coming in here. So this is where I'm hoping to make a breakthrough and get to some air or some space underneath the rock. Is the trenching in a downward pitch. The trenching where the rail is in seems to be at a slight uphill grade going into the mountain, which would be the standard methodology. Did you find some distinctive minerals since the last time I tuned in? Eva can address that shortly. She also found out a potential association with certain vegetation and the quartz. We just mixed the Eco Goldex with the water, Lars. For the bottle rolls, we're doing 3 grams per liter, and we shall see. So anyhow, let's say, as far as I can tell, the rail is going uphill into the mountain at a gentle slope, which was normal. They'd push the empty cart uphill and bring the full cart downhill. And who needs dynamite? I laugh upon your dynamite. Ha ha ha. Well, you'd have to get the slusher down there, honey bunny. We can't even get the quad down there. Okay. Well, I bet you we could get the quad down there. Whether we'd ever get it back up again is a question. Yeah. With a 4x4 quad and a chainsaw and another couple hours,
and leveling some stuff,
we could get the quad to the actual what do you call it, portal.
Don't forget, we probably have to level a few places too, because a few places.
4x4 quad is, would be pretty good. We don't have a 4x4 quad. I don't have a chainsaw, and the bigger footprint you make, the easier it is to get found. But yeah, I can do this by hand. It's good exercise. For a geezer, I'm still doing pretty good. And the work is going fairly smoothly. The unfortunate part is going to be those big rocks at the bottom. That's not going to be um, that's not going to be much fun busting them up. Depends. Some of this big belt sedimentaries breaks up fairly easily. Some of it doesn't. I think it has to do with how much silica has been put in it. Not sure, but as long as they bust up reasonably well. I started mining swinging a double jack, you know, and feather and wedge. Again, I can. By the time you've drilled the holes, I've already busted the damn rock up. Those are small. Those are barely boulders. Okay, technical question that doesn't really have a good technical answer. But let's see what responses we get. What's the difference between a rock and a boulder? When does a rock become a boulder? You know? I won't need that for this. What is a slusher? Okay, well, I'm waiting for some answers. Pretty close, honey bunny. In the mine I worked at, we came up with the definition of you can pick up a rock. You can't pick up a boulder. So the question was, what is a slusher? And a slusher is a very common device. Hi, Red Wing. Basically what it is, see if you can see it this time. Side view, you'll have a blade and you'll have a frame. Top view, you have an attachment point, the frame, and the blade. You also have an attachment point, these 3 points here. And what you do is you hook a cable up to this, and you can pull it that way. And you hook a cable up to this through a shiv block, and you can pull it this way. So you can pull it back and forth in a trench, and this blade typically will have a little thing here, so it only can build up so much material in front of it before it stops cutting anymore and just drags it out, and you can drag it to some spot where you can get it or dispose of it in some other way. These points here are if you're trying to cover an area, like, well, let's say that slip face I'm working near, okay? And then what you would do is you attach 2 cables. Wow, this is getting bad. Through 2 shiv blocks, and gonna have to change colors. Let me write down on my shopping list here. Dry erase black. Wait a minute. There it is, right there. There's my list. Dry erase black. Come on. Black. Okay. So, in the case of that face I was working, you got this mountainside here and your extraction point down here. So you like hook up one cable to a shiv block on a tree there, one cable there, and one to your slusher here. And then by pulling different amounts on different cables, you can position that bucket anywhere you want before you start dragging it back. Okay? It would depend on your slusher, which is the big winch. And they make a single drum is just called a tugger. But that's it's just a winch. A 2-drum slusher has 2 spools which are wrapped alternatively. Okay? So as you're pulling out one, you're retracting the other. Okay.
Like the huge thing we saw at the Museum of Mining.
Exactly. And the 3-drum slushers, they're all independent. So you got 3 drums, and you can independently pull on whichever ones you want. And it's one of those deals where they're extremely compact. They're run either with electricity or air motors, or you could run it by diesel, but I've never seen that. And you can move a lot of rock with those things. Say underground, where you're using either air or electricity, which is readily available and doesn't mess up the air. You can pull stuff, for example, to a draw point, or you can set your cables back on the far side of an area that's not secure enough to put people in. And as such, then you can muck that area without risking any lives. Worst that happens, you lose a slusher bucket and some cable. Okay. That's easily replaced. The slusher itself is out in a safe area, and you pull it out to where equipment can pick it up, or set like to a draw point, something like that. But that's what a slusher is. They're very simple. They're reliable. They can move a lot of rock. Just a little 2-drum slusher probably moves 500 pounds in a single pull, and you're getting 1 pull a minute. If you're like only 100 feet away or something, you can get 1 pull a minute. 200 feet, like maybe 2 minutes, and they will move a lot of material. Okay. So they're used a lot underground, especially because in underground you have tunnels they're long, skinny things. And so that bucket is a pretty good method of digging a long, skinny thing. They do it. They use them a lot. Anyhow, this particular situation I'm dealing with here, access sucks because we got to hike everything down. And yeah, it's much faster than handwork. Absolutely, honey bunny. But even just getting the frickin' wheelbarrow down there, which, by the way, you notice that was not my usual wheelbarrow. Okay. And the reason is because that wheelbarrow was acquired specifically to become a permanent ornament of this work area. It's a bit about weight, honey bunny. But just getting that wheelbarrow with a couple tools in it. Let's see, I had the scrake, the mattock, and a shovel. That and the wheelbarrow was a struggle for me to get down there. I was going downhill. Okay. There was several times I literally had to pick it up over fallen trees. Not much fun. But once it's down there, it's working fine. The only thing I don't like about it is it's got a pneumatic tire, and it's about 1 hour to get up to the truck. So what I did was I took a can of Fix-A-Flat with me. And that way, if we don't have any, problems. 3 days clear. You forget the 6 to 12 months for permitting, if given, honey bunny. By using hand tools, it's casual use. As soon as you start putting tuggers, things with engines, motors, anything like that, motorized earth-moving equipment, where's your permit? Where's your plan of operations? Yep. So by doing it this way, I stay within the rules. It's very simple and easy. It also gives me an intimate acquaintance with the rock as I'm moving it. I'm watching stuff as I'm moving. So if I see something or feel something, I can notice it. Whereas if I just using heavy equipment, like an excavator would be fine for this, would do a great job, you know. And I say it would be the right tool for the job once you got the permits. And then you haul the excavator up to the place. Probably have to walk it in about 2 miles, and then use it, walk it back about 2 miles. Yeah, I should be able to do it in a day. But just to get it down to the work area, you're going to have to the equivalent of widen the trail by 1 row of trees. I don't know, let's say 1 tree every 30 feet, 700 divided by 30. So 25 to 50 trees you're going to have to take out just to get a mini excavator in there, you know? And that's, hey, Mr. Lodak. Yeah, exactly, honey bunny. If you're going to go that route, it makes a lot of sense to get some equipment, you know. We're trying to find out whether or not it's worth permitting, you know. Is there something there? We got one assay that is interesting. You know, if you had a fair amount of it, it would be nice, high grade. It's not bonanza grade. It's not, high grade for a small hand operation or whatever. So that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to get access. The dumps are pretty substantial, not huge or anything, but I mean, if you took a look at the end of that video, when I scanned out, here's the track and there's where I'd have to dump it, you can see the top of that dump is 30 feet across, something like that. And there's 3 dumps there. They were using it rail and, evidently dumping in a semicircle at the end of the rail and then bringing it back and repositioning the rail, But how big would it be? 30-foot radius? That's 30 feet to the gap between 2 dumps. That's where I was filling in the crack. So probably another 20, 30 feet easy out to the end of the dumps. Steep hillside. I mean, they're I don't know, 40, 50 feet tall. Let's see. Let's do a little calculation here. So, yeah, let me, that's a very good question, honey bunny. Let me do a little diagram and a calculation. By the way, everybody, those artifacts that I found look like this. This is like 1 inch by 3/8 strap that's shaped like this. They had 4 carriage bolts at each end. The nuts were still on them. I'm guessing there was wood there that has gone bye-bye. And these were 2 wood screws. Now, they do look a lot like wheelbarrow legs, but why would they have holes in wood screws here is the question.
And there was no place to mount the axle.
Yeah, and there's no axle bearing. Well, they were talking about the legs, the little things that you rest the wheelbarrow on. Okay, so let's do a little calculation here.
They're too small for that. They're too short.
Let's assume, for the sake of the argument, that we have a hillside, a flat spot, and a dump. These meet up somewhere. It's not critical to know where they meet. It's more the dimensions. So this is 50 feet. This is, let's call it 40 feet. So you have a triangle. We can make this into two right-hand triangles, or we can just do an approximation. I'm just going to do an approximation. I'm going to assume, just for the sake of the calculation, that this is a 90-degree angle. It clearly isn't. But that would be, so 40 feet this way, 40 times 50, divided by 2. So that would be 2,000, if I'm not mistaken. We got 0, 0, 20. So 1,000 cubic feet per slice. 1,000 feet cubed per foot. And we've probably got, I don't know, 50 to 100 feet horizontally total. Add them together. So let's call it 75. So 75,000 cubic feet. So roughly 75,000 cubic feet. Now, we divide that
by
by 27 to get number of cubic yards. Anybody's got a number up already. Let's see. 7500 70 1,000, yeah, 75 divided by 27 equals 277 cubic yards. And that's bank fill, I'll call it 1.5 tons.
It's a lot of stuff.
416 tons. Okay.
Unfortunately, it ain't worth squat.
Now, if we got roughly 300 cubic yards of dumps, if that all came out of a tunnel, some of it came out of the divot in the hill, that's for sure.
And the divot next to the.
That's in a different dump. I'm not counting that one. Okay. So if this, let's just say 200. We got 200 yards cubed of tunnel. Assuming that it's 6 foot high, 3 feet wide, that's, 2 cubic yards per yard of advance, 200 cubic yards, 100 yards. So we got like potentially a 300-foot tunnel into the side of the mountain.
Or 300 feet of tunnel.
Yeah. So that's a pretty significant sized tunnel. And they probably weren't doing that just for the exercise. So sorry, I need all the whiteboard I can, John. So anyhow, hey Naudius, how's it going? So, well, if the pipe was here, why do you have wood screws? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. What I'm wondering is, maybe it was supposed to be used like this. Let's suppose you took a small tree. There's lots of trees up there, 6, 8 inches in diameter. You cut the tree and you hang that hanger on it. You put a stole somewhere or whatever, and then you bolt something down here.
No, it's not a wheelbarrow thing because it's too small.
That's all I can. That's all that comes to my mind. These wood screws here.
Yeah,
So
and
Wood screws mean there's some kind of wood right here.
They are also too small to be wheelbarrow legs.
Yeah.
Your
Depends on the size wheelbarrow.
bucket part would be on the ground.
You know? And let's see. I would have to, that is all we have. It's a single artifact. That's all we got. We got 3 of them.
Yeah,
You know?
it's an odd number.
Put a crossbar to put a winch tackle to, maybe. You know? And I say, but the fact that these are wood screws makes me wonder if it didn't go on a post.
And the 3 of them were found with the T-handle. They were all found in the same location.
Now, she said she found them all in the same location, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. They could have just been piled there by somebody in the past. Nadia says, crazy weather. We had a tornado in Western Washington. That's rather unusual. Absolutely.
Holy guacamole.
Okay. Gatepost hardware, awfully large. I don't know. They looked kind of like hand forged too. So I'm not sure.
Definitely awfully large for gate posts, and
Yeah.
I've seen no other hardware that would be associated with gates.
I don't know. Well, that's kind of rude, John. So anyhow, I'm not sure what those things are, but it'd be interesting sooner or later to find out. Something went right through my vacuum brain here. I was talking about that. I don't know. The fact that you've got carriage bolts with nuts indicates this was probably bolted to a piece of wood that has since rotted away. Okay, that's my guess there. And they might have been holding a pole that was just secured in. I really don't know.
Nuts on them so the nuts didn't get lost.
Which way are the bolts in there? If I recall properly, Chris, the heads of the bolts were up. Yeah. The nuts were down. These are carriage bolts.
This is the top of the bolt.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the nut that is on the bolt. And these are long screws that have a very, very narrow gap in the middle. I mean, they come within an inch of each other, the tips of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're designed to screw into something.
And they all appear to be identical. Whatever it was, they were designed to do the same thing. Square in the forging? I don't know. See, this is a piece of strap. It's heavy strap, about inch and a quarter, maybe 3/8 of an inch thick.
The other piece of strap with it was beveled on one end.
If it was...
It was a little clipped off.
Well, if it was square, you could have a square post like this, I suppose. Although this is not... Oh, was that a 90-degree angle or not, little one? Let me take a look here.
They were not 90-degree angles.
I think they were sharper than 90.
They were about a 60-degree angle. Actually, probably about a 75-degree angle, maybe.
Yeah. I can find out. Just wait a second. Believe it or not, there's something called replay. Where is a protractor? I know I got one here somewhere. They are about a 50-degree angle. Okay, so it would not have been a square post.
Bizarre.
I don't know. They used a lot of unsawn lumber there too. There's a lot of just cut trees. No work on them. Just it's a round, rod of wood, so to speak. So as I say, I was hoping someone would know what it was. Round or square hole? I presume at the carriage bolt ends.
I did not look. My impression is they were round. I can check next week.
I would agree with Eva. That's my thought too. I'm not sure, but my impression was these were round holes right here. So theoretically, this would be a carriage bolt sunk into wood. I hate carriage bolts because once the threads get rusted, then you can't get them out. I much prefer double hex. But anyhow, it's rough hewn. Unhewn is exactly. Unhewn, honey bunny. Also, when we first started digging up the tracks, we found quite a number of poles. About 3/8, honey bunny. About 3/8 thick, 1.25 inches wide, roughly. Hey, Rock. Pizza coma, huh? Well, more beer ought to help that. So anyhow, as we were advancing through there, it appeared that somebody had stockpiled firewood in that opening. I get the feeling that the original situation was, here we go. You had the hillside originally. They took a divot out of it and they drove a tunnel in. Okay. Then they roofed over this area here as a shed. And there was a series of poles in here in the 4 to 6 inch diameter. My guess is this was firewood that was put out of the elements for the cabin that was sitting right there. Okay?
Yeah, because they're basically too short.
That's my guess, is in the wintertime they just stuffed this with firewood as a handy place. And what I'm thinking happened is, over time, this slope eroded back and landed on top and kind of collapsed this. And then this also kind of collapsed. That's my guess. We shall see when we dig there. But we dug a lot of material. We went like 20 feet in here. And until we got halfway through, basically all we were digging was mulch. What was left of wood. So so that's the thing. Interesting, Nautilus. Let's see. Yeah, I say it looks to me like something that was designed to hook a board here and a pole here. Aside from that, I don't know. Might have been on a roof structure. I don't know. I'm just not sure. These are definitely straight across here. This is about a 50-degree angle. So you got me. Hopefully somebody will let us know sometime. Eva also said, there were 3 of them, that it appears to her that what is that a juniper?
Yeah.
That little stuff? There's like a ground cover juniper that when we with wood bearing blocks, why wood screws? Um, the only place we seem to see that on that one hill is the same places that we see workings. This low-lying ground cover type juniper.
Dumps.
You know, that seems to be a pretty consistent thing. So we suspect there's some mineralogical coincidence that's happening there. Like there's iron in the quartz injections or things like that that juniper really likes. Or for some reason the pH is different. Not sure. And so that's something we're going to maybe do some investigation further up on the road in there. There's one spot there which is just covered with these juniper, and there is at least one little working there.
Yeah, there are several dumps buried under there.
And we'll we might check that, but that might have been one of the things they were keying on. They see juniper and they go aha, and then start digging. Mr. Green. Yeah, that's kind of my thought. Some mineralizations. I don't know, John. I say that if it wasn't for these wood screws, it would make a lot more sense. Like you say, a pipe hanger. You know, pole lagging at portal. We did have a lot of pole lagging, especially on the sides. The whole thing is so collapsed now and decayed that it's kind of hard to tell. It's obviously, when the pole lagging on each side is narrower than the tracks, you're pretty sure it's been squished in. Hey, Jim, nice to see you again. And there's some obvious flat plank lagging that's been crushed down too. So it's a little hard to tell exactly what they did because the wood is in such terrible condition. Literally in many places you can just tear it apart with your bare hands. So I must have taken 20, 30 wheelbarrows of mulch out of there and dumped it before I ever really started getting into any rock. And rock, Eva's noticing some really small quartz crystals.
I took a bunch of pictures. I will take more pictures.
They were found on surface next to the cabin. I haven't found any hardware as I'm digging through all of the stuff except for nails. There's been some nails. Let me get some of the samples Eva got this weekend.
I'm going to take more really close-up pictures that we can send around.
Oopsie. Try not to break the whiteboard. So we've got a bunch of things. First of all, a burl that was kind of cool. She's finding, let's see, a little better focus. Again, the same sort of quartz stuff, although in this location, she was finding on top of the muck pile in one spot a bunch of small quartz crystals.
Can I draw a picture on your whiteboard?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to use a green marker, people.
She's going to use the green marker.
Okay.
Is that a top view or a side view or what?
A top view.
Okay, top view of the crystal. Quartz
Those
crystal.
are the little super clear guys. They're all teeny, teeny, tiny as an eighth of an inch to a quarter of an inch. Okay. And they're all extremely regular. Look like that. They are found.
Do you have some?
Oh, yeah, they're in that bag.
This one here?
Yeah.
Well, they're buried under a bunch of much larger things.
Oh, it might be in my other bag because I got miniatures in there. No, that's not one.
That might be that other mineral. Remember, we found I'm not sure what it was. When I was panning, I didn't find much gold at all. But
Itchy, bitty, perfectly clear. Clear like water. Clear like ice cube.
that's an interesting thing there because it's more triangular. It's not hexagonal, but
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell
it
you.
is broken on one side. No, I mean sharp edges, triangle, not truncated corners. Could just be because of the way it fractured. Yes.
And then we got
Clear.
style number 2, of which we have one large example that he found on the road. They are rectangular. I have found very few of those dudes anywhere.
She is right.
They are rectangular. They're rhomboid of a sort. That's
Well,
the shape.
no, it's not rectangular.
Yeah.
It's a hex.
It's a hexagon, but it looks like that. It's long and a rectangular hexagon as opposed to.
The fingers are on faces. They're very narrow faces. But there's the cross section right there.
We have a third variety that is almost a perfect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what I mean. It's almost a perfect hexagon. Okay, give me a break here. I'm not really good at hexagoning.
Okay, let me.
It is almost a perfect hexagon.
No, this ain't calcite.
They
the knife
are.
is not scratching it.
The third variety is almost a perfect hexagon. They are very small. I mean, they're short.
So you've got 4 large faces, and what I'm touching are 2 small faces here. There, you can just see them right there.
Yeah.
And this is hard.
Yeah, that is quartz.
Knife blade will not scratch it. So it's as hard as quartz.
Yeah.
So that's the one I found on the road, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
You found and also I found 2 broken ones like that.
Okay.
Dry black dot on a bit of paper and put the ROM on it. Look through the Excel. How many dots do you see?
Not terribly clear. Looks like 1 to me. I can see it clear.
Yeah, of course they're below the camera.
Through the little.
Yeah, through the little one you see it clearly.
Through the little face, I can look at this angle and see pretty well. When I move it over to the big face, I only see 1. Yeah, we're not getting double refraction there. And it's hard. Okay. This is hard. This is a pretty good knife blade here. Nothing.
We have exactly 1 of these milky quartz guys. The crystals on him are pretty darn near perfect hexagons for the most part. I found another one I found another 3 that are hexagon in shape. One, when you look down through it, it's not deep milky like that. It's not opaque white, it's translucent white. When you look down through the top, through the points, you get an effect for all the world like a star sapphire. It creates a little diffraction star of some kind inside it. I've also discovered that the clear diamond type guys never get above about never get above about a quarter of an inch. They don't even hit that. Most of them are extremely tiny, and they are in a quartz matrix that is extremely fine grained. When it breaks like sugar. For whatever reason, something seems to have decomposed the matrix they were in at this location, because this is the only location I'm finding loose crystal points anywhere, which I found interesting. Discovered a juniper bush had gone and ate a whole bunch of quartz because there were nests of crystals under that juniper bush.
And of course, no fizzing.
Bizarre.
There's dilute hydrochloric. No
We've
fizz.
I have also found that there is a certain variety of quartz.
Hi, Mr. Virtue.
That is clear, but not perfectly clear. Has a lot of occlusions. The underside of it is white and knobbly, rather like cauliflower florets, not with bubbles in it, but just little nodules. It's very rounded and organic. The top surface where the crystal guys are growing, they're extremely disorganized. All of my other crystals are nice and organized clusters, just all in neat little rows or in neat little patterns of some kind in their matrix. In this particular quartz, they're all different sizes. They've got different face patterns, and they're growing in a very disorganized way. I'm going to get all these guys cleaned up this week, and then I will be taking a series of extreme close-up pictures under good light so everybody can see them. But it's just amazing. These are not double terminated, they're single.
I know, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Actually, that is double terminated, by the way.
My little itty bitty guy?
No,
that one is, but that's not
This is the one we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
18 total faces. 6 around the center. There's 6 around the center.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this point. And this point has 1, 2, 3, 4 with a little partial right there. So that the points are irregular on this guy. But I am going to do a complete catalog of my crystals because they're all different. They're really cool.
What the heck? Stupid. No. I don't want to do anything. Thank you. Anyhow.
Oh, yeah, Rock Butcher, I know.
I think it was a form of calcite nautilus. Anyhow. So the thing I was starting to talk about before I was interrupted was when I was panning, we noticed a couple bright, shiny little specks left, where you'd expect to see the heavies that seemed to be sticking pretty well to the pan. Not much, there wasn't any gold. I think we saw like one fleck of gold or something.
Yeah.
When we looked under the loop, those specks seemed to be more like this. They seemed to be clear, crystalline, solid, but they were behaving much more like a heavy. Now, I suppose it might have been that they were shards, and so the edges were sharp enough to get it. Does barite form a clear crystal, Rock? I mean, clear, not white, but clear. you know. They were way too small to tell. Rock says barite can form clear crystals. Interesting. This particular one doesn't seem to be exceptionally heavy. Most everything that we found so far appears to be quartz, except for this one, which has kind of a weird crystal structure. Let's see if better background up there, maybe. Yeah, there you go.
Two others like that.
You know, that's that doesn't seem to be terribly heavy. I haven't figured out the density, but say it's as hard as quartz. I don't think barite is very hard. Scheelite can be clear. Okay, that could be it. But I need a ultraviolet. That gives us a good reason to buy an ultraviolet lamp. We haven't gotten to that yet. Hey, Chris, if you want to look on the internet and give us an idea on an ultraviolet lamp, he's so damn good at searching the internet. It's amazing. It's not actually four-sided. There's narrow facets. See, you can see it in front of my finger there. There are narrow facets there. It's like truncated here, ridges, sharp edges here. Weird, Let's see what this is. Scheelite, mineral properties, crystal structure. That looks like an octahedron, tetragonal dipyramid. Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's more 4. Oh, yeah, that's almost clear there, little one. That's pretty darn close. It'd be hard to, I bet you, in a small thing. Yeah, interesting.
Ooh, go with that one.
What?
That reminds me of one of the little itty bitty crystals we saw up in the heavies in that last pan that we panned.
Okay, scheelite would be in the heavies. This is also a possibility.
I have never seen one with that texture. I examined them all.
Well, those seem to be the pieces we saw were fragments.
Yeah.
But then that's all I was panning for.
That color looks an awful lot like that crystal that I thought might be some sort of an orange citrine.
Why does it keep fricking showing stuff that I'm not asking for?
Because it's the internet, dude. It always does that.
So let me put on my list. UV light. Sapphire isn't impossible. I don't know, is sapphire a hydrothermal? Don't sapphires grow direct from a melt?
We have sapphires in the States.
We have sapphires around here, but I'm thinking that, yeah, sapphire grows from the melt, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't come in the hydrothermal. The sedimentary rocks are very fine-grained. They're more like siltstones, not quite shales or slates, but pretty fine-grained in general. So
tell them about there should be a piece. There may be a piece in that bag. Show them the siltstone with the vein of quartz crystals in it. There may be a piece of that in that bag, or in that bucket. There may be a piece.
Yeah, there probably is. Now this is typical sort of stuff here. Trying to find a good example of what we're trying to talk about. Yeah, we get lots of clearly we have lots of crystal fill from inside voids. See, like this is mainly looks like quartz, more massive quartz, but then one edge has crystals, and we had a number of pieces that showed quite well the wall rock broken, and then the fracture filling with veins of polycrystalline. And I call it macrocrystalline because you can see the crystals. They tend to be kind of small in those small cracks. Eva also found a couple large crystals of quartz. There's a pretty one, but it's just an intermediate size one. Let's see. Now that's a regular hexagon there.
Yeah.
The 6 sides are all about the same side. It's also very common for us to find them with 3 large sides alternating with 3 narrow sides.
Yeah, like the one that
Do you know what kind of conditions cause that, Rock? But Eva was spending a lot of time on dump. So far, we have yet to find a sample on the dump that pans good gold. And that's kind of frustrating.
See, this is dirty, but you can see how disorganized these guys are. Some are growing this way, and they're a totally different size than the ones growing straight up. And there are several different shapes of crystals.
You got to get it up where they can see it.
Rock.
Look on the screen, not at the rock. You know?
I mean, they're just growing every which way and in different sizes. I'm going to get it cleaned up and take pictures of it.
Yeah.
And then on the side, in those voids, you've got those really, really water clear diamondy crystals that are that interesting shape.
Yeah, I agree, Rock. I don't see anything unusual.
I just find them interesting.
Any cruciform twinning, not that I've noticed. You know what he's talking about, right, little one?
I haven't seen it, I don't think.
You know what I'm talking about? That's where we have like one crystal here and another one the other way.
I haven't seen cruciform twinning. I haven't seen scepters.
Yep. But anyhow, I say it's kind of interesting. I've got the UV light on my list here.
Yeah, we need.
But that was an interesting phenomenon in the pan. I was not sure what the heck was going on. See, that's what this thing up. Boy, it's kind of fun. I can see it for some reason this way, where I'm looking right at the camera and doing this, is a lot better than when I turn it like this. It becomes very difficult to move it correctly. What if you had a laser pen, Naudius? I don't. I do have a laser sight on a rifle, but as soon as I put the rifle, YouTube will shut down the thing. Happened before, you know. But anyhow, another thing that's interesting up here, there is apparently some guy up in Alaska making small Denver jigs, you know. Well, I don't have one in my pocket, Jean-Francois. The store doesn't help me any. Yeah, I know, it's a cat annoyer. But anyhow, so this guy up in Alaska, it's River Dance Gold Mining, and he makes a small Denver jig. says $1,200. I'm not sure what the throughput would be. It's a duplex, Chris. I don't think so, Jean-Francois. But anyhow, I think that would do your double refraction test also, Rock, in a different manner. That would be my guess. But anyhow, so I'd like to get some more information on that. I say I have no idea what the throughput is, but the tell you what, let me get the link, and anyone who wants to can go to that site too. It looked interesting. Throughput doesn't look huge. Control C. Control V. Okay, there's their website. And they've got a video and a few other things, but I haven't spent any research. I just saw it this morning and I thought, that's cool. Have no idea how well they work, what the throughput is, or anything else. But he was feeding it a lot faster than an Action Mining M4 table. Yeah, it's. I don't know if we'd call it toy grade, more like a toy grade. Okay, possibly laboratory scale. You know, cool, Nautilus. Didn't you also want to know something about the um, resin, if I recall correctly? Something about eluting the resin or whatever. When I Google for mining, I thought I was getting 911 metal. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 911, he knows how to play the internet. I'll test. Do they produce good equipment? Have no direct knowledge. They look like they're pretty well built. Um, and again, as Chris is saying, I think they do a lot of resale, where they're a distributor more than a manufacturer. So I'm sure some stuff they have is pretty good. No, it's not. It's not big enough for a play. It's. I would consider it more laboratory scale. Anybody who has a um, bit of experience, any guess on the throughput? I'm thinking maybe 100 or 200 pounds an hour. That's my guess. Um, we've also done a bottle roll on the. Okay, please do, Chris. But anyhow, we took that VDR sluice from Infinity Prospecting, the little 2.5 inch wide one, and we put another 70 pounds. That's the last of that batch that we ran and had an assay for. And the sluice seemed to recover about 25%. Yeah, that was the place, Nautilus, of the assayed value. And then we took what I call the fine tailings, the coarse tailings, and the slimes. I haven't got the video up yet, but here's basically what we did, what I did. I set up the sluice. I had it go into a bucket. The bucket was sitting in a tub. And the tub had an overflow. So it goes in here and then overflows. Then it overflows out here. I put a big tarp out here to catch that and give it time to settle. So I have what I call the coarse, the fine, tailings, and the slimes. And I got samples of all three of those and then bottle rolled them. And those solutions are now at the lab. So hopefully we'll know pretty soon. I wouldn't think so, Chris. Yeah, mining magnets is, I like Coulter, and he seems to make stuff that works pretty well. Okay. Pretty good sized jigs. Leach 'em, honey bunny. So, the concentrates from the sluice, Eva's done two. Well, she's not completed the second one yet, but she separated the concentrates into the what I call super cons. I panned it down to a pretty good gold concentrate. The magnetics, and then the concentrate tailings, she separated into 60 mesh plus, 60 mesh minus, and then smelting all of those. And so that'll give us an idea when we get a certain amount of concentrates, and then we smelt down the gold, we can say, okay, there's about this much gold in the rest. But the actual tailings, I can definitely pan gold. A previous test on these coarse tailings here, I screened it to different sizes, and the 100 mesh minus, which was 13% of the tailings, assayed really good. Okay. Yeah, we smelted the magnetics. That's correct. Jean-Francois. And so those 100 mesh minus seem to be doing real good in terms of the grade was, have to be careful what I say here, but it's over 5 times the head grade before we poured it into the sluice. So clearly the sluice was missing a bunch. Looking at the pan results from the 100 mesh minus, I didn't see the kind of gold that I would I didn't see the grade that we got on the assay. So I'm wondering if we don't have some real microfine gold, maybe with a little crystal attachment or something like that. I don't know. That's where these bottle rolls come in. And we'll see what we get out. How much are we losing in the coarse tailings? How much are we losing in the fine tailings? And how much are we losing in the slimes? Because those can then theoretically be leached. The whole idea of the sluice is to scalp the coarser gold. The stuff that was coming into the tailings here, very little of it, if any, was over 100 mesh. And most of it was 200 mesh minus. That's the kind of stuff you can leach reasonably well. Sometimes you can, honey bunny. Your magnetic iron holds all the gold? That's kind of unusual, Brian. Do you know what size the gold particles are? because I say I've never seen that. I've seen, basically the iron associated with the gold, but not 100% magnetic iron. That's kind of cool. If all the gold goes with the magnetics, your separation becomes real simple. Yeah. Hmm. Gold is self-soluble in iron oxide material. Um, I would say no, Jean-Francois. The gold is deposited along with the iron sulfide, which then oxidizes into iron oxide, you know? And so it's usually around iron oxides, but I have no solubility phase diagram for that. The iron oxide is not usually, or at least as far as I know, it's not the mineral that is deposited alongside the metallic gold initially. It forms later through oxidation of the iron sulfides. So it's very often associated or encapsulating the gold, but it wasn't deposited with it, you know? That's cool, but unless it's really a rich concentrate, Brian, that'll get pretty expensive per ton, you know? Yeah, I say that's my question is how expensive does that is. That's what I thought, Rock. Sweet, Brian. Seems likely, Jean Francois, but let's see what Brian says. I hate using HCl because the fumes are just so nasty. But I'm a wuss. Okay, he's now using hot eco Goldex. Okay. That's peroxide. Yeah. That's the nice thing about the eco Goldex, Jean Francois. It's pretty benign. Yeah. Peroxide with HCl will dissolve gold. That's what the nitric acid does, and aqua regia provides the oxidation. Uh, yeah, it leaves the iron behind. It does dissolve some though. I can tell you that, honey bunny. Uh, so anyhow, that's some of the stuff we're working on here. We'll theoretically be heading back to the adit we were working on this weekend, next weekend. Hopefully, I can bust through it. The weather looks excellent. Um, so, I say we're hoping to get that done. The temperature should be like 65 degrees and sunny through the weekend. Tomorrow it's cloudy with a little bit of rain. You know, and so we'll hopefully we'll make a breakthrough into a void space next weekend. Um, I'm I like to finish things off. The pH is too high, I think, from the Eco Goldex itself or from your ore? Because the Eco Goldex is from the manufacturer 11 to 11.5 pH. We found with Montana B ore, it actually did better at 10 to 10.5. Let's see. I have no idea, Honey Bunny. Rock is the person to ask. Absolutely. By the way, it's nice to see you, Rock. I know you're working pretty hard, and it's late where you're at. Goodness. Oh. Oh, for atomic absorption, huh? Yeah. When we first mixed up that solution for these bottle rolls, what was it running? A little over 12? Or right about 12?
It was right about 12.
Right around 12 was.
It was higher than I wanted it for sure.
So it was plenty, and after a few days of bottle rolling, it only consumed about half the Eco Goldex?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And only one of the slimes were the only one that had reduced the pH significantly, and that was only down to about 10.1 or something like that. So with the stuff from the mystery dump, looks like lime's not likely to be terribly necessary. Just the Eco Goldex. I think it's got lye in it. It's got something that runs a pretty high pH. So Brian says sodium hydroxide. Yeah, I would think so. And so say it's one of those deals where that ore's basic enough or neutral enough that you don't really need to adjust the pH of it to work the Eco Goldex, it doesn't look like, which is nice. A quick method to dissolve samples. Aqua Regia seems to be pretty much the standard, although for gold, Skyline used to use hydrobromic acid and bromine. And then they would do an extraction into methyl isobutyl ketone, which you extract it into the MIBK and then rinse with water, and that gets rid of a lot of the iron, which according to the guy said causes some interference with the gold. When you got a lot of iron in there, it's hard to see a slight amount of gold. That's how I understood it to be. But yeah, the Eco Goldex. I like your idea of using the peroxide for like bottle rolls, things like that. If you had a tank leach system, that might work as a pretty effective methodology. I don't know how well it would work on a heap leach, although using the percarbonate might, work fine in a heap leach. I don't know. We'd have to do a lot of testing to see. But that would be a good way of really increasing your throughput in a tank leach. So things to do in the wintertime. It was hydrobromic acid and bromine. That was the digestion, and the methyl isobutyl ketone was the extraction. You know. Have a good time, Rock. Thank you for showing up. We really appreciate it. Yes, he did, Jim. Yeah, it's funny. Somebody using a water-cooled diamond saw. Got his hand sledge and a chisel. I feel so inadequate. Oh, oh, dearie. Oh, so that's kind of what we're working on right now. Is doing more limited scale testing of the mystery dump while trying to open
I'll
up
be over there in a couple of minutes, Bear.
that stuff at top of the hills. Thanks, Patrick. Eva did it.
What?
The haircut. And so that's kind of our focus right now. If we have success with our laboratory scale testing with the mystery dump material, we got a couple tons of it sitting out near the mill that we could start crushing, pulverizing, and sluicing and digesting. You know. Oh, so I say that's kind of what we're doing. Yeah, I know, Patrick. I don't like it real long. It just gets in the way, and I don't care too much about how I look. You may have noticed, um, but I do care when stuff is in my eyes and things like that. It gets really annoying to me. Carrying the rock back 5 pounds at a time, not from the mystery dump. um, that we could actually get the quad to. So we were carrying that more like 250 pounds at a time, and we would, you know, get a nice load of ore for the way home. The high grade layer from the mystery dump we did. We've done some other things that may open up the actual ore body. We'll have to see.
Maybe.
Okay, Jean Francois, I have just the resource for you. Let me go here. Let me click here. And somewhere down here, Control C. Here we go. Get ready to start this one. There you go, Jean Francois. Go to that website there, Hard Rock U, and it has a calculator that allows you to punch in, gosh, I don't know, 30 variables in terms of height, width, depth, stripping ratio, extraction ratio, recovery ratios, ore grade, mining cost, recovery costs, all that other stuff. and it'll allow you to get a good idea of whether you're in the ballpark. It was not working. Well, let me see. Where's the mining project economics estimator? Yes, 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 I agree. There it is. I'm seeing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 variables there.
Try putting some stuff in it.
It takes time.
Make sure it works right.
Seems to. Taking a number. Let's see. Let's do a thing. 1800 per body width in feet. 1. Per body length in feet. 100. Per body depth in feet. 100. Weight ounces per ton. 1. Okay. Let's see. Ore produced, mining, tons per hour. See, this is the problem. I can't do just a couple of things. Hours per day, 8 hours. It's going to take me 5 minutes just to fill in all the blanks to allow it to
Then just back out of it and copy and paste back.
One part ore. The ore production is higher than the milling rate. Yeah. Mining rate. Well, yeah. 1 part ore, 1 part waste. Percentage of ore and ground recoverable, 50%. It seems to be doing stuff there. Okay. So, yeah, it's doing calculations. I really don't know, Jean-Francois. But, hi, Shiny.
Try clicking on the link that you put in the chat.
I'm sorry. He said it worked for him before, now it's not working. Okay.
No idea why.
Okay. Haven't heard about it. It's running fairly good. I think the carburetor's got an issue. I was back to the carb guy today to say, when you rebuilt the carb, it was working good for about a week, and now it's kind of doing the same thing. So could you check it out? And he said, sure, bring it by. I'll give it a quick check. I'm sure you could put that in as some kind of cost thing, or you just adjust the price of the gold. It doesn't have a field for it. The bribes for everyone? No. Nor the hookers or beer, But anyhow, that calculator is something that anyone can use. It's free. If anyone's getting any information from it, it's not me. It's just something me and a friend put together. He's the computer herder, and I'm the mining guy. And so that allows you to do those kind of estimates. My just run-of-the-mill thing for a small hand operation, you're going to want, like, in the United States, 1 ounce per ton, 1 foot wide. Okay? Without any major complications, you should be able to make money at that. 1/2 ounce per ton, 2 foot wide. Just a rough ballpark sort of thing. Could be, honey bunny. Wouldn't surprise me, but sometimes it seems amazingly inefficient. Ah, there she is. Thank goodness my bladder is happy.
Oh, really now? Your bladder now. Hi, Shiny. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, honey bunny. Hi, Chris. Before I get started, I am having a lovely time with my crystals, which makes me very happy. I do have a pile of them and several methods I'm going to be using to clean them. And then my goal is to take some very nice photos of them, close ups on all sides, and then do a very nice video of them in decent light so everybody can get a good look at them. They're really good looking dudes, I'll tell you. There are some good looking dudes on those dumps. I am a happy camper. And in another note on the same issue, yes, indeed, there's something very strange going on with that juniper. This is not the kind of juniper that grows in a tree, as in upwards. This is the kind that grows flat, low to the ground, ground cover, usually kind of spready, outy looking stuff. And the only place that I have seen it up there every time has been on dumps. Every single dang dump we have seen basically has had juniper. So the next time we're up there wandering around, the goddess is going to go wandering off and check out some of those juniper bushes that are sitting in the middle of meadows with no other green growing pine tree type things around them at all. Just every once in a while in the middle of nowhere, you'll see a random juniper, the ground cover kind. Or you'll see two or three of them in a row that appear to be on the same, kind of thing going on. The goddess is quite intrigued by that. Hi, Mr. Virtue. Well, as you know, absolutely nothing has been going on in the news lately. At all. Period. End of story. There is no news. In the realm of there is no news, Yellen the felon announced nonsense. The United States is absolutely capable of conducting a two-front war. Yes, we have more than enough money to get involved in a multi-front war right now. Just saying. And apparently Anthony Blinken got to see the inside of a bomb shelter recently, which doesn't surprise me. And Lord Monarchy gave a very puzzling interview on 60 Minutes. You might want to go look at it. It's puzzling. I puzzled and puzzled till my puzzler was sore, and I couldn't figure out what the hell that man was talking about. Nothing much new about that. But that is where we are. Needless to say, despite the government figures claiming that inflation is holding steady, the job market has never been better, and everything is going fantabulously well. It might interest you to know that a couple of hundred businesses this year declared bankruptcy, and a couple of dozen of them had assets of over $1 billion. It looks like Joanne Fabric and Crafts might be the next one on the list. The goddess is going to go shopping there tomorrow because apparently at some Joanne locations around the country, their clearance stuff is like 90% off, and they have bins of things that you can just take free. The goddess is going to go check it out anyway because I like craft stores. So, I love craft stores. And in other random news, oh, I had the most amazing Gouda cheese from Costco, imported from Denmark or some such place. It's not Edam, okay? We all know that Gouda is Edam's baby brother, but oh, it's a good quality cheese that makes amazing cheese wisps. And it makes amazing bologna and cheese sandwiches without Oscar Mayer bologna. Which, by the way, you might want to start reading the labels on your various processed meat products because somehow or other, The goddess is not entirely sure how or why this is happening lately. There have been changes in ingredients in a few things again. The Oscar Mayer bologna and the Oscar Mayer wieners are short a little bit of protein. And they do have a little more fat. And they have changed the order of ingredients in their mechanically separated meat, to put it the polite way that they put it. We all know what mechanically separated means. And in other random news in the meat department, we are pricing calves. And I'll tell you, this is indicative of the state of the world. 100 years ago, a prime market size beef cow, as in a female cow to make calves, or a market weight male steer, cost 1 ounce of gold over 100 years ago. So the goddess went on Craigslist because we have the opportunity to get a cow. Well, to get a calf or to get a cow, we have a place to put it. And get this, the goddess discovered that she could get a full-size cow for 1 ounce of gold in terms of price. And yeah, it's that one right there, the one you got your. Oh, that no, it doesn't have that thing right there. Yeah, it's a ground juniper. But anyway, it seems rather interesting that if you actually look at the current price of gold and the current price of silver, and then you look at the prices of things a couple 100 years ago, like a cow to fill your freezer, you discover that the same ounce of gold that would have gotten you a nice cow for making baby calves 100 years ago will get you a nice cow for making baby calves today. There's
Possibly,
something to
Chris.
be said for sound money, and one of the things that should be said for sound money is the fact that there's no inflation attached to it. But that's an entirely different thing. Something value, just one of those things. And yeah, that flat ground covery juniper is entirely different from the upright piney tree juniper. They grow in different places around here. There is zero upright piney tree juniper in the particular area we're in right now. On the other hand, at Montana B, there is nothing but upright pine tree juniper, and there is zero ground cover juniper. Go figure. No idea why that is. But at any rate, yes,
2,000 to 3,000 feet of elevation.
that may or may not have something to do with it. The goddess believes elevation is a social construct, so, along with calendars and a few other things.
Well, if I identify as high as a kite, will that work?
Yes,
Oh.
that will work. Absolutely. Since you're high as a kite, go away before I charge you with a DUI. Anyway, yes, indeed. The inflation is absolutely under control. Several hundred businesses have declared bankruptcy, including a couple of dozen that have assets over $1 billion. But that is just scurrilous rumors and hints and allegations that have absolutely nothing to do with our stellar, historic, absolutely perfect economy at this time. The other thing that has nothing to do with our perfect economy at this time is the fact that household mortgages are now up around 7.5%. Some of us are old enough to remember double-digit mortgages, which is a really bad thing. But this rate of climb is beginning to annoy a few people, and it is perfectly understandable why. Meanwhile, in the mining world, well, as an adjunct to the mining world, once again, the eco-terrorists over at the Department of the Interior have spoken, and the goddesses indeed have two minds on this one. USDOI draft study poses a further setback for Alaska's Ambler Road project. The proposed 211-mile transportation corridor for accessing untouched mineral deposits in northwestern Alaska, also known as the Ambler Road Project, will likely cause harm to wildlife and disruptions to local communities, according to the latest environmental review by the Biden administration. This would be probably spearheaded by the tree spiking eco terrorist in charge of things over there, whose daughter, by the way, apparently has a great liking for red, green, and black flags and terrorist organizations. But that's there's nothing inherently wrong with supporting people who behead babies. I mean, really now, if it were not for just little inconvenient things like actual morality. But anyway, be that as it may, in a draft supplemental environmental impact statement, SEIS, released on Friday, the U.S. Department of the Interior found that as many as 66 communities whose subsistence style living activities could be affected. Nearly half of those could face significant impacts because of the road. Subsistence use would be altered by the presence of a road, both because the road would affect wildlife behavior and because it would bisect travel routes used by hunters and affect their access to subsistence use areas, the report stated. According to a 2018 feasibility study, the Upper Kobuk mineral projects in the Ambler mining district could produce 159 million pounds of copper annually over a 12-year lifespan, as well as 199 million pounds of zinc, 33 million pounds of lead, 3.3 million ounces of silver, and 30,600 ounces of gold. The project, consisting of the Arctic and Bornite assets, is owned by Ambler Metals, a joint venture of Trilogy Metals and South 32. The Ambler Access Road was previously granted a permit by the Trump administration in July 2020, despite objections by local groups. However, in 2022, the Biden administration reeled back on the decision under the premise environmental impact had not been adequately studied. The DOI review, which examined the impacts from three potential routes for the proposed road, also updated the potential effects of the road on caribou and fish. Specifically, it found all options for a road would fragment wildlife habitat, altering the movement and migration of caribou and other animals, partly because of vehicle noise, though some proposals would have more impact than others. With caribou already under pressure from other development and climate change, the road could affect calving and survival rates, the analysis added. Steve Cohn, the agency's Alaska state director, said the review includes more robust input from talks with Alaska Native groups. Continued public input and engagement on this draft is critical to ensure our analysis captures the proposed road's potential impacts, Cohn said in a statement. While not final, these findings offer further setback to a project that mining companies and renewable energy proponents consider to be crucial not only to U.S. economic growth but to climate strategy. Given the clear terms of the law and the strategic importance of this project, you would expect the Biden administration to prioritize approval with reasonable mitigation measures for subsistence. Instead, perhaps with an eye toward Halloween, the analysis looks to be filled with environmental boogeymen. Well, that's a new one. Environmental boogeymen. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski said in a statement. Rhino. Fellow Republican Dan Sullivan also shared his frustration, stating energy and critical minerals are one of America's greatest strengths. Remarkably, the Biden administration has sought to unilaterally disarm these strengths, including with today's Ambler Road supplemental ETS, which sets up more hurdles to access one of the biggest deposits of much needed critical minerals in our country. The Ambler Access Project was authorized in federal law over 40, that is 40 years ago, and has support across Alaska and within the region, Ramzi Fawaz, chief executive of Ambler Metals, stated. The company is confident it can address any issues raised in the new analysis. The Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act of 1980 guarantees a right of way across federal lands to provide access to the Ambler Mining District. The Bureau of Land Management and National Park Service initially granted a 50-year right-of-way for the access road, but the permit was suspended by the DOI's request to conduct the SEIS. The draft SEIS now enters a 60-day public comment period. Ahem. Public comment period alert. The administration will then issue a final environmental impact statement, followed by a final decision expected sometime next year. The goddess is indeed of two minds on this. It is possible that this road could impact caribou. It should also be noted that they said Anwar would impact caribou, and it turned out those nice big heated pipelines are actually pretty darn good for caribou and a few other things that live in the area.
Well, that's a positive impact.
Yeah, I mean, funny. Apparently, raising the temperature a little bit in an area is actually a desirable thing in this circumstance. The goddess also doubts that there will be enough traffic on this road to deter the animals for long or to cause a risk of animals becoming roadkill. It should be noted.
Term in this town, I'll tell you.
It should be noted that animals in general can become so habituated to the noises of roads that, as somebody back there pointed out from the peanut gallery, they will tend to get themselves run over on a very regular basis. When we used to live in Washington State, we were driving. Where were we driving? We were driving from west to east. We were going over the Cascades, and we were going to the east for something or other. And there was this nice big stretch of road that was informing everybody to be really, really freaking careful because 93 deer to date had totaled automobiles. And the to date in question was late summer. So apparently, these animals can become habituated to the noise. The question then becomes, will there be enough traffic on this road that roadkill will cause a population problem? The goddess rather doubts that. The goddess does worry more about fish because a lot of these mining companies are not as careful with waterways as they should be. And we're talking copper/base metal mines, which do tend to create some water problems. So yeah, the goddess worries more about the salmon than she does about the caribou. But then again, one of those things. As to the subsistence communities, I'm pretty sure the subsistence communities could have pedestrian bridges over this road to get from point A to point if they needed them. I'm also pretty sure they will find a way to continue subsisting.
Can't you just walk across a road?
Humans are extraordinarily adaptable creatures. If some government regulation doesn't stop them from getting their stuff, like a lot of these Alaskan tribes have been restricted from even hunting their one freaking whale a year because of regulations, I'm pretty sure they'll be doing fine. And actually, having a road in there may be more helpful to them in terms of being able to get medical care a little bit faster, having opportunities for trade and tourism show up here and there. So I am fairly sure, knowing this administration the way I do and knowing the government in general the way I do, that this is a very slanted and biased environmental impact statement thing going on here. I'm also fairly sure that it would be an excellent idea for everybody and their uncle, especially if you happen to live in Alaska, to go hunt up the public comments for this business and make a public comment or three. Because even though our comments are entirely ignored, our federal government never throws anything away. So in later years, when sanity has returned and it's time to do something with all these people, there's going to be a huge pile of paper trail to prove their malfeasance, which would please the goddess very much at this point. Just saying. saying that that would be an excellent thing. In other random news, what a gold standard does to America. Well, I'd rather say what a gold standard does for America, but let's see where this is going. What would America look like if we returned to the gold standard? Bimetal standard, gold and silver, please. Would we return to the Stone Age? Would innovation end, as Wall Street bankers and government paid economists claim? It's easy to talk about the catastrophes unleashed on humanity by paper money. The permanent inflation, the endless parade of recessions, the exploding debt, the progressive impoveritization, and the predatory governments who don't care if people starve or cities collapse, since after all, bureaucrats will still feast. By the way, the goddess talked to a friend today down in Argentina. Oh, yeah, things are looking very bad in Argentina. Again, they're talking about using the dollar as U.S. currency because theirs is worthless. Some of us told them, "Sorry, dude, ours is worthless too." But yeah, what can you say? What's
Ruble
harder
should
for
be good.
people to imagine is what a hard money world looks like. What are we fighting for? Fortunately, for most of human history, up until just 50 years ago, well, actually, up until about 110 years ago, we lived in a hard money world until Nixon broke it. In fact, for the first 150 years of the Republic, we didn't even have a central bank. Andrew Jackson killed the last one. Great president. So hard money without a central bank isn't science fiction, it's normal. What's weird is today's fiat world, combining worldwide inflationary banks and worldwide inflationary paper money. This is, in fact, a totally new thing. Just to give you a little background context here before I continue reading, at different periods in history, different societies experimented with the whole fiat currency bullshit or the devaluation of currency in various forms. But it had never been a worldwide thing all at the same time. There were always people that still maintained some sanity. This is the first time the world has gone universally crazy. Okay, just saying. This is an experiment. We are the guinea pigs, which should probably keep us up at night. Yeah, it does. Innovation in the golden era. So, what did the world look like under gold? For that, we go back to the late 19th century, the period between 1879 and 1913. 1879 was the reestablishment of the gold standard in reaction to Lincoln's disastrous hyperinflation. Yeah, the dude that danced a fandango on the Constitution before he set it on fire. We're not going to go there with him. And 1913 was when it ended with the founding of the Federal Reserve, which actually destroyed the world surprisingly fast. Within a year, most of the world was shooting each other in the trenches of France, all financed by the Federal Reserve. In short, that period from 1879 to 1913 was the greatest golden age, not just for America, but literally for humanity. Essentially, the entire modern world was invented in 35 short years. A partial list includes electricity, automobiles, telegraph, telephone, airplanes, steam turbines, video, wireless communications, broadcasting, plastics, stainless steel, and even the first computer. Every science fiction miracle Elon Musk springs on an unsuspecting public is built on that golden age. Electric cars, 1890. Solar panels, 1888. Rockets, 1903. Mobile phones, 1908. Undersea tunnels, 1875. Even subways running in pneumatic tubes, 1870. The fax machine was in there too somewhere, people. Just saying. We went from whale oil to gas stoves in 30 years. From Pony Express and horse drawn carriages to radio, telephone, and traffic jams. From candles and coal to walls of light splashed across Broadway and central heating warming town sized skyscrapers, all in a single generation. It was the birth of science fiction, the birth of Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, because anything was possible. Today we laugh at their optimism. Flying cars, George Jetson robots, passenger ships to Mars. We laugh because it's so long gone we can't imagine it anymore. The golden standard era gave us a tiny government, roughly 10 times smaller than today. Partly because without a central bank, the government couldn't print unlimited money like today. The smaller government meant the amazing inventions of the Golden Age translated directly into widespread prosperity, rather than being taxed or regulated into oblivion. Murray Rothbard estimates that in the era's peak deflationary stretch, America had annual GDP growth of about 6.8% a year. That's about 3 to 5 times faster than today. The goddess will again put a little aside in here. Think back to what I said about cows and gold. And think about that very, very carefully. Can you imagine a world with 6.8% annualized GDP growth, but without the inflation? The result is the sentence I'm about to read now, and please don't get too depressed and please be sitting down. Children would be between 4 and 6 times richer than their parents. In other words, sound money means the accumulation of generational wealth, not debt instruments, wealth. Okay? Unfortunately, we squandered it. Well, the voters of 1913 squandered it. Professor Hardrock, were women voting in 1913? Or was that after we went insane? Just out of curiosity. It should be noted the goddess is very much not a fan of women voters. Just saying. No, let's see here. Well, anyway.
I'll find out.
He is still looking at most major Western powers in the interwar period. Okay, so they weren't voting then. They weren't part of the base beginning of insanity. It just happened later. At any rate, the voters of 1913 squandered it with a toxic policy mix that delivered enough government to mortally wound the golden goose. Specifically, the income tax, the central bank, and the century of wars that came from both, from a government that can take and print anything it wants. Over the following century, our golden era, our top hat singularity, went into exile, muscled aside for the welfare warfare state that funded military spending, galloping socialism, endless inflation, and depression. Yeah, 1920. To illustrate, compare today to that golden era. In the last 35 years since 1988, the only completely novel invention was, ironically, Bitcoin. It's true, regulators finally let us use the internet, which is based on the 19th century telegraph and was fully developed by the 1950s. We finally mass produced some of the bigger golden era inventions like mobile phones. Otherwise, we've been like medieval tinkerers, improving on mysterious Roman inventions we stumbled across in old books. More important, consider incomes. Today's young look with envy on the boomers, their grandparents, while we debate whether we've actually gotten poorer in the past 35 years. Spoiler alert, you have, and so have I. Compared to the 4 to 6-fold rise in incomes every generation in the Golden Age, we can only imagine a world if prosperity had continued. 6 figures for a barista, working class retired in their 40s to explore the world. Looking back, it's not hard to be angry at what we've lost. We know what happens under hard money because we have the receipts. Prosperity flourishes, innovation soars, and freedom rises. Unfortunately, the prosperity and freedom may be part of the problem. because hard money robs the state of its ability to arbitrarily seize the entirety of humanity's wealth via the money printer. It robs it of its chief means of financing the crises that grow the Leviathan itself. The boom bust cycle that feeds its cronies on the bailout treadmill while sacrificing enough human shields to leave the masses begging for bread. And the goddess will add here, it takes away the ability of the government to grow, basically. Hard money, sound money keeps governments honest. And let's face it, the number of honest people in government is really, really tiny. Just saying. Hard money lets people rise, but it clips the wings of governments. To the extent government makes the rules, they will therefore fight it with everything they've got. At this point, whether it comes in gold, silver, or Bitcoin, which I disagree with, a return to hard money promises us an epic forming transformation to smaller government, to fewer crises and paper financed wars, a world of more human freedom, more innovation, more hope for the future, in contrast to the creeping feeling of doom many of us have in today's fiat world. If that's not worth fighting for, not much is. And that was written by Peter St. Onge, who is with the Mises Institute. I sincerely suggest that you go look the dude up because he's very smart. He's smart dude. And yes, lest you miss the point, no, the goddess doesn't believe in chicks voting. The goddess does not believe in chicks with political power. The goddess thinks it's a really bad idea. I would happily give up my right to vote tomorrow if it guaranteed that all of the insane people out there lost theirs too and couldn't cheat their way into voting. My grandmother said, if you can't best the smartest man you know in a political argument legitimately, then you don't belong in the voting booth. If you do go into the voting booth, then you ask the smartest man you know who he's voting for and vote for that person. Because women, by and large, do not think like men. That doesn't mean that men are better. That doesn't mean that men are even necessarily all that good. It just means that men have the kind of mind